Well, this is weird. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Darkness&Dragons channel. I know it's been a while, but give me a break. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background and there's stuff that you'll see eventually. Making my own RPG system is kinda hard. I wanted to do something today because I got a book, a piece of paper strapped together with leather binding, in the mail. But what I got today is a book. I received it in the mail, my backer reward, for being one of the first 3,500 people to back this certain project on Kickstarter. And for those of you who don't know, the Kickstarter was Fool's Gold Into the Bellowing Wilds. For those of you who don't know, the Fool's Gold campaign was a campaign played years ago, before being partially animated by Dingo Doodles, a YouTuber who is now skyrocketed in popularity. She made her first Storytime D&D video about how the time she summoned a Tarrasque by singing so badly. It makes sense in context, I swear. That video was released about 6 years ago on April 4th, 2018, and I was an immediate fan. I remember being one of the first 300,000 people who watched that video through YouTube's recommended page. That video went mega viral, getting about 5 million views at the time of writing the script. She then, over time, started telling the story of Fool's Gold, and it's still going on to this day. I showed my book on Twitter, and it got retweeted by Dingo Doodles herself, and I got inspired to do something with it. So that's what we're doing today. We're reviewing Fool's Gold Into the Bellowing Wilds. When Dingo Doodles originally reposted my tweet, I was very excited, I was ecstatic. And as a DM for 5 years, I've decided to go through this book. So I had the PDF of this book for a while now as a backer reward, but now that I got the physical book, I felt like I had to do something with it. So, what's in it? Fool's Gold Into the Bellowing Wilds is a campaign setting book set in the D&D 5e system. The 2014 version, not the 2024 version. Which has new backgrounds, races, and subclasses, as well as a full campaign setting with history, stat blocks, magic items, and more. Now, before I continue, I plan to go just over things, not go through the entire book piece by piece. It's a product that I bought, and I feel like more people should support the creator because she is a fellow YouTuber like me. And two, because it would take way too long to get through this book, and I don't even know if this video will do good anyway. I read through the book in its entirety to make this review, and now back on topic. It has notes from Dingo, Felix, who is the DM of the original Fool's Gold campaign, and the characters from the story like Sips, Gothy, Arena, Gorthan, and Julian.
Then he wakes up. In jail.
We now move on to part 1, Welcome to Fool's Gold, and here's an overview of the book and some things you should know about said book. It talks about things like comedy and tragedy, moral gray areas, and player investment. All things that can be used in your D&D game. It also talks about having a session 0, a session before normal sessions to build character and give expectations for the game. It's also clearly that Fool's Gold is an overpowered fantasy setting, so it's recommended to give them some bonuses or buffs to keep them up to speed. It's recommended for spellcasters that they do not have to prepare their spells, but can cast any spell from their spell list whenever they want. And for martial characters, it says give extra feats at first level and when they reach an ability score improvement. Which I understand, lots of the stuff in this book is pretty damn strong. They also put in a soul-shattering system that actually puts some danger when someone completely dies and needs to be revived, giving them a chance to not revive but instead shatter their soul if they fail to be revived. This adds some significant risks for actually dying instead of just, being revived and maybe a level of exhaustion. This is something I've been doing for a long time, something similar to this in my own games when someone dies. And it's nice to see it shown in a book. It then goes into some GMing tips for the campaign if you choose to run the Bellowing Wilds campaign, and then it gives a timeline for everything that in the events of the campaign as shown on YouTube. Then you get the character sheets for all the Fool's Gold characters in the Fool's Gold campaign. I'm saying Fool's Gold a lot. Jeez, I'm gonna mess that up so bad. In order, you get the character sheets for Arena, Gorthan, Gothy, Julian, and Sips, all set at level 5. All but one of these characters have a custom subclass, which you can find later in the book. These character sheets are extensive, having classes, features, backstory, stats, skills, and actions. and equipment and much more. And all of them being at level 5, they have a lot to work with. I'm not showing too much again because it's not mine to show, but since my personal favorite character here is Gothy, I love her character portrait. It's just her and her pet Jawbone.
Needs more nutmeg.
Part 2 is about character creation. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but this book is full of original artwork, like tons, and I love it. It's not only art from Dingo, but from Gothy's player, Felix, and even Antonio D'Amico of Pointy Hat fame. And even has Jesse Jackdraw in here. They even somehow got the artist behind the Griffin Saddlebag on this project, which is very impressive. This art is amazing, really well done, and I'm loving every piece of it. Now, enough of me gushing. I won't be showing it all, but there are some pieces of art that I will be showing to give context. Now that we're back to the book, we'll start with the backgrounds, and I will be showing one of the 3 available. We will be covering the Cursed Soul. They are cursed, and they come with a curse that you can find in the appendix of the back of the book, where you find out how you got the curse, how to break the curse, and what you are cursed with, and a lot of background elements to make sure you know what you got yourself into. You gain proficiency with insight and intimidation, as well as you gain a language from either Abyssal, Celestial, or Deep Speech. You gain basic equipment and gain a feature called Feared Outcast, which makes more people fear you and lets you get away with maybe some minor crimes, but people on the outskirts are more likely to treat you with hospitality. Being feared, I feels like it's a little bit dangerous. Yes, it comes with the purchase! Now we'll move on to races, and we're starting with the Beast Folk. Beast Folk are made in 2 ways. They either being a humanoid that has gone through a Beast Folk splicing ritual from a skilled splicer warlock, or being born from 2 Beast Folk parents. Those transform into Beast Folk often are trying to run from their past, or seeking something that they need a new form to do so. For the race, you get a lot of options for character creation. Your wisdom score increases by 1, and your choice of ability score of either strength, dexterity, or constitution score also goes up by 1. Your age varies on your animal half and your humanoid half. An elf in a turtle mix may live for hundreds of thousands of years, while a human with a hamster could be dead in 50. Your size is medium or small, depending on, the other choices, and your base walking speed is 30 feet, whether you're medium or small, which is nice. You gain beast senses, giving you either dark vision or enhanced perception. Weather armor of the beast gives you a base 16 AC as long as you're not wearing armor. That, or you can choose the weapons of the beast, which gives you natural weapons like claws. These claws deal 1d6 plus your strength or dexterity modifier in damage, and deal an extra d6 if you crit. You learn to read and write Common, and if you're transformed into Beast Folk, you know the languages you knew before being transformed. There are also 4 subraces, those being Arctic, Aquatic, Forest, and Urban Beast Folk, each one giving you all sorts of bonuses. They also show other races such as the Mohatians, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, which are gem people, and Weavers, which are spider people. Hey, my system has spider people. Spider-Man, does whatever I can do in D&D can. Next are races in Ambria, the setting of the Bellowing Wilds. There are things like Dragonborns, humans, dwarves, and the like, with tieflings being the rarest of the humanoid races to see, and humans are actually one of the rarer races as well, being nearly wiped out during one of the setting's wars. Now we get to the subclasses in the book, and there are quite a few, a total of 8 new subclasses, but we're going to cover 3 of them. Again, I have read them all, but I am doing this so that you can also pick yourself up a copy of the book. The new subclasses are for Barbarian, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Sorcerer, and Warlock. And we're going to be looking at the Druid, Fighter, and Sorcerer subclasses. So the Gothy, Arena, and subclasses. However, my personal favorite is the Splicer Warlock, which is all about splicing your own body with creatures you have killed to gain their bonuses. First, we're looking at the Circle of Swiftness, or the Gothy likes to call it the Circle of Zoomies. The Circle of Swiftness nearly died out until Gothy started sharing its teachings, reigniting the Circle's popularity. Starting with 2nd level, you gain a companion mount, and gives you a couple of rules for the mount. It's a bit customizable, giving you an example of your companion. If it was a shark hound, it Its attacks would be a bite dealing piercing damage, but if you decide to use an oversized rabbit, it would do a kick attack dealing bludgeoning damage. You can use half your movement to dismount and mount your mount, and it goes on the initiative count right after you. It can also take the dodge action unless you give a bonus action to command it what to do. While mounted, you can have the attacks that target your mount target you instead, and you can use a reaction to give your mount an advantage on dexterity and strength saving throws. These mounts also make death saving throws as well, and if they die, you can resurrect them using a Revivify or Resurrection spell. However, to attune to a new mount, you need to form a new bond with one, which takes 8 hours. Now we get the Twin Beast shape, which allows you to wild shape into a form matching your companion. And both you and your mount use a custom stat block that is found in the book. Starting at 14 AC and 15 hit points, this isn't bad for a stat block for a starting druid. It increases with your proficiency bonus and druid level respectively, and at 6th level you gain companion casting. This allows you to cast spells through your companion as its source, giving you a lot more range when it comes to your spells. As well, your companion attacks are now considered magical. At 10th level you get Entwined Evolution, which gives you a choice of a special bonus. You either get vines that sprout and deal damage, or gain as flying or swim speed for both you and your mount, or Twin Tactics, which gives you advantage on attack rolls if your mount is within 5 feet of you and are in Twin Beast shape. And the mount gains advantage while you are mounted or within 5 feet of it while in Twin Beast shape. Lastly, at 14th level you get Beast Stride, which allows you to speak telepathically with your mount as long as you're within 1 mile of each other. And if you're within 600 feet of each other, you can teleport to your mount as a bonus action, or your mount can teleport to you as a bonus action. But you can only do the teleportation thing once per long rest. My overall thoughts on the class is that it's a pretty balanced subclass, giving the druid more wild shape options in the Twin Beast shape, and giving them more animal companions that they can mount. Making a mount build druid is actually something that can happen, giving you a slightly different mounted combatant feat just by using the subclass. So a druid with a lance mount build is feasible. This is a fun subclass that I believe is relatively balanced. It can be made fun in a lot of different ways, and I think it's a creative sinkhole that's going to be really fun to play with. Now we move on to the fighter subclass. And don't judge me, this is the closest thing I have to a sword current. And that fighter subclass, which is the magical protagonist. This is the magical girl subclass. This is the transformation subclass. This is by the power of the moon, I will punish you subclass.
What the hell was that?
At 3rd level, you get your first choice as magical origin. This either gives you a magical companion, a pre-planned destiny, or a specialized trinket. The companion gives you the Find Familiar spell. The special destiny gives you proficiency in the performance skill and either the intimidation or persuasion skills. And for the trinket, those of your choice automatically succeed in a saving throw for a future feature in this class. The feature being the magical transformation. This transformation gives you a few things, starting with the transformation itself. This transformation changes your appearance how you wish, changing your hair, makeup, or outfit to fit more stylish and heroic. As well, you can decide on how fast you transform, either using an action or a bonus action. Using an action gives you an entire extra effect, allowing you to blind creatures within 20 feet of you who fail a saving throw of 8 plus your charisma modifier plus your proficiency bonus. The trinket mentioned before actually protects your allies from this, making sure that they don't have to make the saving throw. Transforming using a bonus action only makes it happen quickly, meaning no sparkles of blinding. As well at 3rd level, we're still at 3rd level, you gain 3 style points. These points allow you to perform hero powers, which are listed in the book, going from sturdy hero that gives you temporary HP equaling your fighter level, to awesome hero attack that allows you to yell the name of your attack to gain advantage to hit, and if you're within 5 feet, it automatically becomes a crit. Now each of these hero powers require style points to be done, and you start with 3 of them. You gain another at 7th, 10th, and 15th level, to a max of 6. You regain them at the start of a short or long rest, and regain 1 when you land a critical hit on a creature or roll 20 on a charisma check. Oh, that was only 3rd level, oh boy. We now move on to 7th level, which gives you Ultra Personality. This allows you to draw more power from hope and friendship, allowing you to add your strength or dexterity bonus to your charisma skill checks. Additionally, you can give yourself advantage on a charisma check if you could see one of your allies. You can only do this once per long rest, however. At 10th level, you gain the Power of Friendship, which allows you to call an ally using a free action, and as a reaction, they can give you a style point that must be used before your turn ends, or else it just goes away. Style points gotten this way can actually go over your max level of style points, so that means at this level, using a free action, you can have 6 style points in a turn instead of 5. Also at 10th level, you gain the Magical Beam Attack, Special Beam Cannon, which replaces one of the attacks on your turn. This beam is 5 foot wide and 60 feet long, and any creature within that line must make a dexterity saving throw or take 2d6 force damage on a fail, as well as your normal attack damage. This beam deals double damage to constructs and objects, and when you reach 18th level in this class, it deals 2d12 damage instead of 2d6. Next is a simple one, and oh thanks Sailor Moon. This simple one is called Wings of Hope. At 15th level, whenever you transform, you manifest magical wings that give you a flying speed equaling your movement speed. Lastly, you get Believe in Yourself, which is an ability that allows you to transform for free when initiative is rolled, and if you use as if you used a bonus action to do it. As well, if you don't have any style points when your initiative is rolled, you gain 2 style points. My overall thoughts on this fighter subclass? It's fun. It's a fun subclass that gives me Battle Master Fighter vibes with a little bit of sparkle. It's also very versatile because fighters have proficiency in all weapons, so your magical protagonist could wield a giant sword like Berserk, a sly rapier, or just be like Arena and throw giant metal balls at people. There's a lot of stuff in this subclass I didn't mention that gives you a lot of versatility in battle, giving you healing, damage, and spell options. It also gives you a lot of transforming options, because there's not a lot of way to blind creatures in D&D 5e in the base game, aside from spells like blinding and deafening. This might give a reason to actually use an action to transform, because at 4th level, if you have an 18 charisma, that save is a 14. That's a pretty good save for a low level you're at, and at level 18 with charisma of 20, your DC is 19. Still very good. Even if you don't want to take the full action, using a bonus action to get all the other effects is definitely worth it for a fighter, especially if you're just getting into combat. This is a fun subclass for those who want to add a bit of sparkle to their fighter. Hell, if I get the chance, I might even play it. We're on to Sorcerer and, monkey. We're at the Sips subclass, the Concentrated Chaos Sorcerer. We get a little bit of lore about it as well, talking about how it's been banned from arcane schools because of its unpredictability. By choosing this subclass, you get a random spell every day from this chart that doesn't require material components. At 1st level, you roll on the first row of the chart, and for that day you have that spell. The next day you roll again, forget the spell you knew the day before, and get a new spell. Now, one day you could know Hellish Rebuke, and the next day you could know Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Then at 3rd level you get to roll another d4, learning another spell you know from that day in the row. And so on and so forth until you reach 9th level. There's some pretty good spells in here like the previously mentioned Hellish Rebuke, and things like Mass Healing Word giving you some healing options. Next at 1st level is Chaos Surge, which is portrayed pretty faithfully to what Sips' magic looked like in the actual videos. Your Chaos Surge level begins at 10, making any roll on a d100 of 10 or less, making your spells go chaotic. There is a surge table on the back of the book that says what can happen when you surge, going from loud annoying sounds playing for 1d4 rounds, I just like to think of this Skibbity Toilet song, to cursing a target to even healing them. There is a surge table for targeted spells, spells that target you, and one for both of them. The surge level can either grow or shrink depending on your character's actions or something that might happen to them, such as increasing your Chaos Surge level if you spend time in a place with extremely chaotic magic, or you attempt to learn from the chaos to gain more power. You can shrink it, however, by doing things like practicing to control your magic and meditation. However, if a spell does go chaotic, you do gain sorcery points equal to the spell you cast at its original level. We then get to the 6th level ability, which is Chaotic Counter. Whenever you see a creature make an attack roll within 60 feet of you, after the attack is declared but before it's confirmed as a hit, you can have your chaos jump from you to the attacking party, using 2 sorcery points. They roll a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC, and on a failed save, the chaos takes hold. You roll a d6 on the chart that can do things from stunning an enemy entirely to frightening the creature who is attacking. That ability was pretty simple, but it works quite well for the sorcery point cost. Next we get to Favorable Chaos, which you get at 14th level. Man, sorcerers jump really big when it comes to class abilities. This is where you and the chaos have become more intertwined. You have tea more often, giving you an ability to influence the chaos. At this level, you can choose to allow a chaos surge to happen whenever you cast a spell of 1st level or higher, but you can only intentionally do this once per turn. When you do this, you can choose to do 2 rolls on the chaos table and either have them both go off or have them cancel each other out. And if you cancel each other out, the spell you casted originally works as intended, but you don't gain sorcery points equal to the specific level of the spell. Lastly is Chaos Bubble. It's time for chaos for everyone! Using an action, you can make a bubble of chaos in a 60-foot radius that lasts for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated. And whenever someone casts spells or activates any magical effects while in that bubble, they need to roll a save against your Chaos Surge level. And if they match or roll lower, they must roll on the Chaos Surge table. So if your Chaos Surge is 50, if they roll a 50 or below on that D100, chaos goes off.
Ha! But it goes wild again. Nuts.
And you get to choose which chaos table they roll on. Then you can use 1 sorcery point to make them re-roll on the table if you don't like the result. But they must use the new roll. And you can use this whole ability again after you use the long rest. Overall, this is a fun and chaotic subclass with a lot of space in between because of how the way sorcerers are function in D&D 5e. And it gives you what it's designed to be, giving you 3 tables to roll on and giving you well over 200 effects at random to fling out like a booger in the wind. The subclass is also very faithful to what is shown to us in the Dingo Doodles videos, which is nice to me as a DM because that means either Felix kept his D100 charts, which as a DM it wouldn't surprise me, or they just made some new charts. Either way, it's impressive to come up with anything for a D100 table, well, let alone 3 of them. This class I also like because it makes you work with your GM in order to make a character more interesting. The Chaos Surge table could be a curse, a magical infection, or many other things. You could pull a Naruto and say you have a curse mark, growing over time, giving you a timer, or it could be like Sips, having a general curse that grows over time or by certain actions happening in the campaign. There is so much customization you can do with this class, and it boggles my mind that I would be excited to play it.
Who wants boiled shoe?
This book also holds the history of Omnia. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. The world is where the Bubbling Wilds takes place. And note, before I continue, this is a very dumbed down version of the story and leading of events. Because I'm not giving away everything in this book, because I want people to buy it. I want people to support Dingo Doodles. So, in case you want to see more of whatever this is, make sure to like, favorite, and subscribe, and go give Dingo Doodles the same thing. I mean, they're the one giving me the content. This book has a lot of twists and turns, from the first part of the story told in the perspective of the lost god, with its name redacted throughout the entire book. We learn through the creation of the world, the eras which the gods transformed the world into what would be habitable for life, and fighting off a rival of life known as Nyx. Following the Genesia's War, which is where the god of nature saw the prosperity of humanoid races by destroying her creations of nature, and such as trees and rivers, that war started and lots of stuff was nearly wiped out. Beast folk were made for this war, and so were the weavers from earlier in the book. Eventually, humans were almost wiped out completely, and the god of nature was cut into hundreds of thousands of pieces, grew into a large tree called the Squequa, wishing to atone for her past violence. Then one of the 2 sons disappeared. I mean, seriously, just, it's gone. And then the lost god became the lost god, his clerics unable to remember the god's name. Turns out he was murdered. Great. because it's one less sun, and now the nights are twice as long, and now the tides have to be fixed, and those who couldn't adapt did not survive. The Umbra was started as kingdoms started to blame each other, and monsters started coming out during the now longer nights, including the quacking Doom Duck. Then came the Age of Dragons, followed by the Bellowing Wilds Rush. The dragon named Gresh found gold in the Bellowing Wilds, and now a gold rush is happening. Gotta get your gold! Many settlements rose and fell, till eventually Rascom became the first large settlement to be made. Many settlements have been made since then, died out since then, and have thrived since then, such as Alchemist Quarry and Glenshire. Right now, at the time of this book's writing, Gresh still sends her tax collectors to those in the Bumbling Wilds, and many mysteries still remain. The next section of the book is the section on the gods of Umbria. Those being the old gods who control the fundamental aspects of the world, the Ashane, which are concepts that are otherworldly and are considered gods, but still give power to clerics. The new gods, the gods who took up a pantheon when there was an opening or when there needed to be a god for some reason. And then there are the dead gods, the gods who have died in the pantheon, such as the Lost God and the other Sun. I'll be talking over two gods that I find interesting, and we will start with the god of death, Vitala. She is a lawful good deity, which is rare to see for a death god, and has a symbol of a skull inside of a sickle. She is one of the lead people in the underworld, with her divine pet's face atop her head. She is a well-known god. She is more often worshipped during times of war, but once turned her back on her people when they stopped worshipping her, leading to a rise of ghosts and necromancers. Nowadays, she has a good amount of followers and gets offerings from those traveling in the wilds. We will also be talking about one of the Analhe, the god of justice, Zeros. His domains are death, knowledge, and war, and his symbol is a winged sword. When justice needs done, people call up Zeros. After the death of his wife, one of the sons, he put himself into a self-imposed exile of sorts, traveling amongst the world disguised as a mortal, often traveling at light speed to give blessings to those who need them. So basically, if Sonic was a paladin, this would be his god. Many of his followers are judges and advocates looking for justice. Lastly, in this section, there is Necromart and Prezoras, two stores in the universe of the wilds that provide special cleric and necromantic offering services. With Prezoras having things like resurrection scrolls and services and healing potions, while Necromart has Rise Dead, poisons, and bestowing curse items.
Eat your potassium!
Part 5 of the book is the part I plan to skip talking about. I still read it, but it's just a map of the wilds and a description of certain cities and locations, giving great detail about characters and locations and where they are. But I know that would be here all day if I went over through every city and everything else in that world.
This is Gothy, a Four-Claimer.
The Four-Claimers. The Four-Claimers are a custom race that was made for this campaign and has a lot of detail about their lore and history, and I'm sure many details that will be explained in videos on YouTube, so I will not spoil all of them here. I will, however, talk about the race features for those who wish to play as a Four-Claimer. Now, it's said in the book, because of the extra ability score increases that this race gets, it's quite powerful, so it's important as a DM to allow someone who plays a Four-Claimer. You need to make sure that the rest of the party is balanced, either them also being Four-Claimers or giving them extra feats and magic items. To play a Four-Claimer, you must make a few choices. First off, you need to choose whether or not you're going to be augmented or unaugmented. Being a non-augmented means you do not have a power crystal. These crystals give you your Four-Claimer powers and a long-lasting life, such as and other bonuses that we will get to. First, we need to get to the non-augmented race, which starts with the ability score improvement that gives you a dexterity and intelligence scores a +1. It also gives a +1 to any ability score of your choice. You reach adulthood at 20 years old, and without a power crystal you can live up to about 700 years. Your size is medium, and you have a walking speed of 30 feet. And you have dark vision out to 60 feet, and you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic cannot put you to sleep, basically an elf. You gain proficiency with the investigation and perception skills, and you learn the light cantrip. Lastly, you speak Steelkin and another language. Once you gain a charged power crystal, you gain 2 features, and your subrace. your aging starts to get delayed, being able to live for 1,400 years. But if you lose your crystal, you start to rapidly age. You also get a metabolism powered by the crystal, making it so you don't have to eat, drink, or sleep, and only takes 4 hours of light activity that you need to take a long rest. Then you choose a subrace, there being 4 to choose from, being the Arcane Tactician, the Leader, the Tracker, and the Warrior. I'll go over the Tactician and the Tracker, so there's still some stuff for you to get from the book. The Tactician is where you get your intelligence score goes up by 1, and you gain the ability Arcane Mind. You choose 2 first level wizard spells, and a 3rd level you choose a 2nd level wizard spell as well. And you can cast these once a day without using a spell slot. Next part is Enhanced Cognition, which allows you to have an advantage on any intelligence ability checks to accurately reveal anything to you that you have seen or heard before in your lifetime. Now we move on to the Tracker specialty, which gives you a +1 bonus in Wisdom and 3 abilities, which are Enhanced Agility, Rapid Reflexes, and Wilderness Adaptation. We will start with Enhanced Agility. Enhanced Agility gives you a 10-foot bonus to your speed and advantage on checks to move through difficult terrain. We then move on to Rapid Reflexes, which allows you to add your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls. Lastly, they get Wilderness Adaptation. This gives you a climbing and swimming speed equaling your walking speed. As well, you can breathe both air and water, and you have gills grafted to your neck. This is what Gothy has. Now that's all I'm going to cover for the 4 claimers, and what do I think? Well, I believe the race is powerful, but I think it can be played well by a player who isn't trying to power game. It also is something your DM and you should definitely look over before allowing it in their game, because the races has a quack ton of lore, and it would be difficult to add to the world if they don't make their own story for it. As well as I would remove 1 ability score improvement if they wish for the players to all be equal. Overall, I think they could be fun to play.
Heh, I stole them.
Now, I'm going to cover this first page of this because this is a whole adventure that brings players from level 5 to level 15, which is a big adventure. Nearly 100 pages in length. Now, it's also built for you to have some homebrew in there, for you to flesh out things for your own reasons, but it's a good base for everything from part 5 and this section. This adventure brings you through in a familiar adventure up to a certain point of the Fool's Gold campaign that you saw on YouTube. I wouldn't say it's exactly the same because there are a few differences, and there will be differences because unless you're trying to act out exactly what happened in the Fool's Gold videos, well, it's going to be different. You make different characters, different things are going to happen. No adventure will be the same. As well, once you reach chapter 4, things are going to start getting a whole bunch different. If you're expecting a play-by-play of the videos on YouTube, this won't be what you're looking for. However, this adventure is expansive and full of content for a long-running campaign, as well as multiple endings for said campaigns depending on the options your players choose and allies and enemies that they make. An overall fun campaign with plenty of jokes and drama. Now I'm going to go ahead and end it here. This book also has an alchemy system and to make potions as well as magical items and spells, but if I go through all of them, we'd be here all day at least. This book is full, and I mean capital F, full of content, and full of fun options for you to add to your homebrew D&D games. Even if you don't like the adventure, you can add to your games from the subclasses to monster stat blocks to magical items. Honestly, Dingo, Felix, and the rest of the team, you did a great job making this book, and I'm excited to see if they have anything else in the wings. At the time of this recording, there's apparently a big Fool's Gold announcement happening tomorrow on the 8th, and oh boy, gonna be excited for that. I know it took a while, but I am a patient man, and it showed up out of nowhere at the blue at my place, and I was like, dang. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you Dingo and Felix, and the rest of your team for making this book, and I can't wait to see more from you all. If I were to give this book a ranking, I would say 9.5 out of 10. Great art, stories, and so much more. The only reason it's not 10 out of 10 is because it took a lot of time to get this book, but I understand stuff's happened with Kickstarter and backer kit and all that. And it was most likely out of control of the team. Well, that's it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and I hope you like this video. If you want to see more videos like this, tell me. I'll happily do it. And I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.